ठीक है, connected है, आवाज जा रही है सही मेरी? Perfect. Okay, so what we will do in the next few classes, that is why I brought two of you together, the two groups, that we will begin with money and banking today, and we will cover up on money and banking. So wherever you are, you stay put. You don't have to worry about that. I will bring you back to to the things where we left it. But right now, and of course, we will be picking it up again with the threads where we had left it. From next week, we will be planning some of your double sessions with me. But right now, we'll just go on, and I'll be beginning with a new topic, completely devoid of anything in the past, so you don't have to worry about that. So I'm beginning with money and banking, and so you give a heading. Yes, yes. After the class? क्लास के बाद पूछ सकते हो मुझे, ठीक है? Okay. All right. Let's see this then. So when we talk about things here, the first thing that begins is when we talk money. So when we use the word money, money implies that what you are using as a medium of exchange or as a unit of account. But initial days, we used to have money in the form of seashells, money in the form of coconut shells, money in the form of pebbles and stones. These were very initial days that this will be used to exchange hands. लोग एक दूसरे से exchange करते थे और सामान के बदले ये चीजें दे देते थे, इनकी कुछ value लगा देते थे. So there will be some value attached to these, and in place of commodities, these things will be given. Gradually, as we evolved more, we started having gold coins or silver coins or bronze coins, copper. So this was called metallic money. These that we started having, this was called metallic money. Metallic money. So this is what we started then, metallic money. And all these, जो भी ये मैंने बोर्ड पे लिखा, इन्हें कहते हैं commodity money. When money is given in terms of a commodity. All right, this is called commodity money. Understand one more thing in that. In all these cases, the value of money is not because of a government guarantee. It is because of the intrinsic value of the commodity. For example, if you have a gold coin with a king's name pasted on it, even if you remove the king's name, the gold coin value will remain same. आप उस gold को melt भी कर दे तो gold उतना ही value देगा जो gold coin दे रहा था. So that is why they were called commodity money. They had intrinsic value. Intrinsic. So intrinsic value when it came to commodity money. And gradually as the world evolved, we shifted to paper money. The way we have today in our country or across the world, paper currencies. And this paper money is not considered money because of its intrinsic value. It's considered money because of the sovereign guarantee. सरकार ने एक तरह से guarantee कर रखा है कि वो पैसा है. All right. So all of us accept that it's money. So it is considered as money not because it has an intrinsic value, but because it has a sovereign guarantee. Such money is called fiat money. The money which is considered as money because of sovereign guarantee, that is called fiat money. All right, that is the point we put across. Now, today's world, we use fiat money. The central bank of the country will be responsible for printing this money and circulating it in the economy. So it's the central bank which decides how much money will be printed and circulated in the economy. Also, when it comes to this fiat money, it is something which is called legal tender. Legally, nobody can refuse from accepting it. So it is called legal tender. All right. There can be other legal tenders also, like demand draft. That's a legal tender. All right. You can't refuse from accepting it. So जब भी आप ये word सुने legal tender, it simply means that a medium of exchange which cannot be legally refused by anyone from accepting. All right. Then there are near money like credit card, debit card, they're called near money in plastic form. Then there is digital money, NEFT, RTGS. We transfer money from one place to another digitally. And now we are also developing what is called digital currency. That is, central bank will mint its money, and the central bank will now be bringing up what will be called digital currency. I'll teach you about digital currency separately, but what is called digital currency or e-rupee, where they will not bring a physical note, there will be no physical currency note. There will be a digital value, and that will be directly put into the digital wallet of the consumers. All right, that is digital currency. That is called e-rupee. Central Bank has already almost completed the pilot project. They have brought up two types of e-rupee for retail purposes and for wholesale purposes. So those two types of e-rupee are there. That one will be for retail, another will be for wholesale. And as I said, they have almost completed the pilot project on that. So the idea is that central bank will create money and they will be using it through uh, a fund ledger system. That is, they will maintain a ledger who is holding the money, who is not, and they will transfer it digitally. So I will have my digital wallet, the money will be transferred, you will have your digital wallet. If I want, I can put it in your digital wallet. It's like exchanging notes. Just that there is no physical currency. But we will do a complete analysis of what is digital currency, what are the benefits, what are the challenges. We will talk about it separately. Right now, I'm just telling you the different types of money that we would have. Now, what are their uses? So you write in that uses of money, uses of money, and in a bracket you can write how money is an improvement over barter system. Good morning, Namita and Jyoti. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Divya. Okay, so yeah, how money is an improvement over barter system. Because this is something we should know that before money, the dominant method was barter, that people would exchange things with each other and consume. Money was there, but money was not the dominant thing. Money became dominant only with the growth of modern economy since 19th odd century. That after that, money started becoming dominant, that people would use money for paying for goods and services. So how did money improve, or what are the uses of money? So you write number one, money created a single unit of account. Money created a single unit of account, that is, the value of all commodities, the value of all commodities could be expressed in terms of money. Value of all commodities could be expressed in terms of money. Full stop. Under barter system, there was multiple price. Under barter system, there was multiple price for each commodity. Multiple price for each commodity. Okay, so this is one thing we need to understand initially itself, that think, when it is money, we can always say that this board is for 10 rupees, or this podium is for 20 rupees, or the shirt is for 30 rupees. So everything expressed in terms of money. But imagine if there is a barter system and there are 100 type of commodities, then every commodity will have 99 possible prices. Because every commodity will have to be expressed in terms of the other commodity. Like how many board for how many writing sticks, how many board for how many podium, how many podium for how many writing sticks, how many jackets for how many podium. You see that? So you need multiple prices, which used to make things more confusing. With money, there is a single price, single value. Everything can be expressed in terms of money. So that made transactions, even complex transactions, relatively easier. Do I believe we are clear on that? Second point then, you write, money acts as a medium of exchange. Money acts as a medium of exchange and removes the problem and removes the problem of double coincidence of want, of double coincidence of want, which arises in case of barter system, which arises in case of barter system. Okay. Now see, again when we say double coincidence of wants, what does that imply? That when you talk about, say I have wheat and I need furniture, then I will have to search for someone who has furniture and who needs wheat. That is called double coincidence of want. All right, that if I have something and I need something, then I will have to find someone who needs what I have and who has what I need. That is double coincidence of want. And that would be difficult again to do. With money, I don't have to do any such business. I can just go to the market, use my money, purchase my thing. And I can earn my money by using what I have. So in that case, money becomes the medium of exchange and facilitates transaction. All right. So unlike barter system, so how did they solve it in barter system? I'll tell you. In barter system, that is where they created the culture of having village fair और लोकल फेयर. तो सब लोग मेला लगाते थे, एक जगह इकट्ठा होते थे और मेले में सब लोग एक दूसरे से एक्सचेंज कर लेते थे. But that would be once in a week, once in 10 days. But that is how barter system would work. With money, that became easier. You could have your small shop. You can sell things. People can buy things. I can do any activity, earn money. So money started again facilitating transactions. Modern world, modern economies cannot be imagined without the way money is transacted today. All right, that is the basic idea I'm trying to drive home. You cannot scale up the business. You cannot make it service sector. You cannot make it manufacturing dominant unless money doesn't exist. All right. Next, you write third. Money acts as a store of value. Money acts as a store of value. That is, people can keep money. People can keep money in financial institutions. In financial institutions like banks and get return on it. And use it for future consumption. That's money as a store of value. See, again, storing commodities is costly. If you are storing commodity, you will have to pay someone for it. You're storing gold, somebody is storing it for you. You are storing cattle, somebody is storing it for you. But money, the person storing it will use it for further business and therefore will give you interest rather than charging you anything. So money again started that. Now imagine that beginning of savings led to the growth of financial institution-led investment. And that led to the growth of first generation entrepreneurship. Now I did not need money from my ancestors or my own self. I could have borrowed money from a bank But how can I borrow money from the bank? When somebody has saved it in the bank. You understand that? In a barter system, again, the subsistence economy dominated. People will produce as much as they wanted. People would consume as much as they wanted. And there was no idea of saving them or using them in future. Money started creating those ideas. All right. And then you write fourth, money is fully divisible. When I say fully divisible, I mean it can be divided into fractions. 1 rupee into 100 paisa. So money is fully divisible, which means which means it could it could promote credit transactions. It could promote credit transactions. Now, when I say credit transactions, I mean lending and borrowing. All right, that is what money could do. Like if you give me 100 rupees today and tell me, sir, I would need 110 rupees 40 paisa 1 year from tomorrow to today, that's okay. I can always give you an extra 10 rupees 40 paisa. But you can't give me one buffalo today and ask me for 1.05 buffalo 1 year later. You understand that? That's not possible. So with commodities, it was not divisible always. So you could not have lent a commodity and brought it back with interest. With money, it was possible and became very easy. That you could lend your money, get your interest in terms of fractions, and people again started lending and borrowing. And as I said, the whole premise of modern economy cannot be imagined if we did not create money. I'm using the word consciously. Money is not a natural construct, it's a human construct. हम लोग सब ने मिलकर मनी बनाया और हम लोग सब मनी मानते हैं तो मनी एग्जिस्ट करता है. You understand that? We created money, we accept currency notes and all as money, so money exists. If we all stop accepting it, money won't exist. We will have to go back to days of commodity money then with intrinsic values. All right, so these are all institutions, central bank, government, banking system, financial mechanism, stock market. These are all us who have created it and now we transact through them. All right, so they are all human construct. None of them are natural or which grew on their own or which can be believed just because they exist. They all are institutions which we have created. Okay, and there are many such. हम उसको natural मानने लगते हैं. But imagine family is a human construct. It was not natural. We created it. And we said, okay, I'll have a family and so on and so forth. So be careful on that. When you talk about these, whatever is human construct, then depends on the type of institutions that you are running, which will decide faith in it. Ultimately, it's all based on faith. That is the point I'm trying to drive home. That ultimately it's all based on faith. Tomorrow, if people lose faith in the financial system, the monetary system collapses. All right, that is the idea. Okay, then why do we demand money? So you give a heading, you write reasons for demand of money. Reasons for demand of money. I'll teach you a few things here. Let's see. So we say reasons for demand of money. So one is called transaction demand. This is when money is demanded for purpose of buying and selling commodities. That is called transaction demand for money. When money is demanded for the purpose of buying and selling commodities. In this case, we say that it is directly related to income or output of the economy. It is directly related to income or output of the economy. Now remember, we are thinking macro here, the whole economy. So a country, an economy will demand more money as it becomes richer. Remember, I am using output or income interchangeably with the idea of circular flow behind it. All right. So when we use the circular flow of the economy, I'm sure you would have done it with Reddy sir. So the circular flow of the economy is the idea that whatever you earn is what you produce. So your income and output will be same. So if my output is rising, if my income is rising, I will demand more money. Because the more I earn, more I will demand liquidity. So what is this liquidity? The money that is being demanded or supplied, either ways, in the economy for the purpose of transaction, making investment in financial markets, any purpose. But if I am saying that I need money, in another words, I need liquidity. For a second, think cash is considered fully liquid, it's already money. Gold can be converted into money quickly, considered comparatively liquid. But house cannot be converted into money immediately, so it is less liquid. So liquidity is meant like that how easily you can convert something into currency. So currency being currency itself is 100% liquid. So whenever you hear the word liquidity, it simply means currency circulation, demand for money and supply of money transactions. Now, as my income becomes more, my output becomes more, my needs of transaction will become more, and I will demand more money. तो जैसे एक देश अमीर होता जाता है, as a country becomes rich, their demand for money also becomes higher for the purposes of transaction. Then there is another purpose for which money can be demanded. It's called precautionary demand. This is when money is demanded for unforeseen situations. When money is demanded for unforeseen situations, like say a COVID pandemic or a war or an earthquake. So you keep money in hand that if I have an unforeseen situation, I should have enough money to meet those unforeseen situations. All right, that is called precautionary demand for money. Again, it is directly related to income or output. Directly related to income or output. Keep these things with prelims in your mind. This is all from prelims point of view that you should know these things. Now again, as an economy becomes rich, its precautionary demand for money will be high, and if the economy is relatively poor, its precautionary demand for money will be low. So as an economy is rich, its precautionary demand for money is high, and if the economy is relatively poor, its precautionary demand for money will be low. Then, so there are two things that I wrote, transaction demand and precautionary demand, which are related to income or output of the economy, directly related. तो अगर normally भी prelims में आपसे सवाल आए that as income of the economy rises or output of the economy rises, what will happen to money demand? It will rise. If output of the economy is falling, GDP is falling, that language can also be used. What will happen to demand for money? Demand for money will fall. All right, that is the aspect here. Then there is a third factor which affects demand for money. It is called speculative demand for money. So we say that when people hold money in their hand, waiting for bond price to fall and interest rate to rise, then it is called speculative demand for money. It is inversely related to interest rate, that is, increase in interest rate will imply decrease in speculative demand for money, and similarly a decrease in interest rate will imply an increase in speculative demand for money. I will explain this to you. You just write it down. I will explain it to you. Good morning, Sahitya. Okay. अभी मैंने एक बात लिखी यहाँ, अभी इसको डिस्कस करेंगे. मैंने लिखा when people hold money in their hand waiting for bond price to fall, so people are expecting that bond prices will fall in future, and since it is based on expectations, that is why the name speculation. All right, so waiting for bond price to fall and interest rate to rise, then it is called speculative demand for money, and it is inversely related to interest rate. Okay, when I say inversely related, it means the opposite relation. That is, if interest rate will rise, then speculative demand for money will fall, and if interest rate will fall, then speculative demand for money will rise. Okay, let's try understanding why do I write it? What is the whole idea behind writing it? So I used a term waiting for bond price to fall. So what do we imply when we use this word bond? All right, I said waiting for bond price to fall. So when we go into that, I'll go back to the previous slide, but I need you to know a few things first. So when we say bond, we say that they are financial papers or certificates issued by government, corporates, municipalities, etc. for borrowing money from the market. Those who purchase these bonds are lenders. The bonds are issued at a face value or issue price for a given period of time. This is called maturity period. Except perpetual bonds or perpetuities, and they have a fixed amount of return promised on maturity. This is, I'll tell you a few more things, but this is to begin with, that bonds are financial papers or certificates issued by government, corporate, municipalities, any institution for the purpose of raising money or borrowing money from the market. मान लीजिए मुझे पैसे चाहिए, मैं बैंक में जाके बोरो नहीं करना चाहता, और मैं एक कंपनी हूं, मैं एक बॉन्ड इशू करूंगा। जो भी लोग वो बॉन्ड खरीदेंगे वो मुझ में भरोसा करके मुझे पैसे दे रहे हैं। बॉन्ड का मतलब ही ट्रस्ट होता है। All right. So those who are buying those bonds are trusting me, and they are putting money in my company or my institution or my government, and the bond will have a fixed amount of return, not a fixed rate of return, and the bond will have a maturity value. So I will issue the bond for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 100 years. The bond can be issued for that. People can purchase those bonds and put their money with me, and I promise that, okay, after the time period is over, I will pay it back to you. All right. There is just one exception to that. There are particular types of bonds called perpetuities. These bonds never mature, they keep getting transacted. Also remember, the difference between maturity value and issue price or face value of the bond is called its coupon value. ये fixed होता है हमेशा. The difference between maturity value and issue price or face value of the bond is called its coupon value. So whenever somebody says coupon value of the bond, suppose मैंने एक bond issue किया 100 rupees का, और मैं कहता हूँ एक साल बाद में 110 rupees दूंगा. I issue a bond for 100 rupees, and I promise that after 1 year I'll give 110 rupees. Then the coupon value of the bond is 10 rupees. All right, the difference between the maturity value and the issue price, that will become the coupon value. I am not promising a fixed rate of return. I am not saying I will give 10% to the holder of the bond. I am only saying whosoever brings the bond to me will get 10 rupees above the face value at which I issued the bond. I hope we are clear on that. Okay. And the bonds are tradable in the market, so they can be freely traded among people. There are some particular type of bonds which you cannot trade in, which you have to hold till they mature. Such bonds are called held to maturity bond. All right, कुछ बॉन्ड बहुत रेयर होता है, बट कुछ ऐसे बॉन्ड होते हैं जिन्हें खरीदा बेचा नहीं जाता, जिनको इशू किया गया वही रखेंगे और मेच्योरिटी पे जाकर अपने पैसे ले लेंगे. इन्हें कहा जाता है हेल्ड टू मेच्योरिटी. मैं आपको पढ़ाऊंगा इनके बारे में बाद में. जैसे आपने ऑयल बॉन्ड का नाम सुना होगा, तो ऑयल बॉन्ड ऑयल कंपनीज को इशू किए गए थे by the government, and they were held to maturity bond. The companies could not have traded it in the market. So there can be bonds which cannot be traded in the market. They are called held to maturity bond, but they are very rare. Normally the bonds about which we are talking here are freely tradable in the market. So I can sell bonds, I can buy bonds, anybody can take it up. You get it till this? I'll make you now understand how is it related to speculation or expectation, and how does it decide money demand. I'm giving you an example and we'll build on that. So suppose I create a hypothetical situation. Suppose I say that there is an issue price of a bond 100 rupees, and there is a maturity price of the bond 110 rupees. All right, there is an issue price of the bond 100 rupees. There is a maturity price of the bond 110 rupees, and say the time for which bond is issued is 1 year. एक साल के लिए बॉन्ड को इशू किया गया, 100 rupees का बॉन्ड है, 110 rupees वापस मिलेंगे. I am using a term. I can always claim that the rate of return will be 10%. If you apply 100 rupees today, you will get 110 1 year later. 1 year later, but mind you, at 10% rate of return for the bond. Okay. I'll take two cases and remain clear on that. So let us say I take a case 1, and suppose this is a person the person buys the bond. Alright, ये एक person है, इन्होंने bond खरीदा. अब मैं case 1 करता हूँ. Case 1 is that I have high money supply. The economy is in a position जहाँ money supply खूब ज़्यादा है. The government has, say the bond is issued and the government is following an easy money policy, printing a lot of money. There's high money supply in the market. People have more money in their hand, so people are demanding more bonds. Do I believe you understand that? लोगों के पास मनी ज़्यादा है हाथ में, तो वो कहते हैं चलो बॉन्ड ज़्यादा खरीदते हैं, बॉन्ड खरीद के रखते हैं, फ्यूचर में कुछ पैसा मिलेगा. So people have more money in their hands, so people demand more bonds. Now suppose there is a high demand for bond. People have more money in their hand, don't forget. There is a high demand for bond, and this person is now interested in buying the bond. This person goes to this person and says, I want to buy your bond. Today itself, आज ही इन्होंने bond खरीदा, आज ही ये पहुंचे, बोले मुझे bond दे दो. तो ये बोलते हैं मैं तुम्हें थोड़ा ज़्यादा पैसा लूँगा, मैं 100 का नहीं दूँगा. This is normal. If more demand is happening for anything, its price will tend to rise. So say this person now sells bond to this person for 105 rupees. All right? अब एक बात समझिएगा आप यहाँ. अगर आपके मन में आता है क्यों बेचेंगे ये, इनको तो 110 मिलेगा. इनको 110 एक साल बाद मिलने वाला है. The 110 is due 1 year later. The fellow is getting 105 immediately. You understand that? So that's a much higher rate of return. So the person will go ahead, say the person goes ahead and sells the bond. Why is this person buying the bond? This person has enough money in the hand, and this person is expecting that maybe bond price can rise further in future. So I can take the risk. The person is speculating for a hike in bond price and purchasing the bond. इनको लग रहा है 100 रुपीस के ऊपर जाने वाला है वैल्यू बॉन्ड का. इनको लग रहा है 100 रुपीस के नीचे भी जा सकता है, तो ये कहते हैं चलो 105 का तुम खरीद लो. That is how transactions take place in financial market. But think now, today when this yellow person buys the bond, this person is buying the bond at 105 rupees. Say for 1 year, say taking an example, for 1 year, if this bond remains unsold, if he doesn't sell the bond, then the rate of return this person will get will become lesser, because when this person will take the bond to the issuer of the bond, the issuer will still give 110 only, no? Issuer उनको ये थोड़ी कहेंगे मैं तुम्हें 115 देता हूँ, वो तो 110 ही देंगे. So if he gets 110, then the rate of return becomes 110 minus 105 upon 105 into 100. That's kind of 4.7%. So you know what's happening? Please understand the context. When I increase money supply, or if there is high money supply, if there is high liquidity, then people can demand more bonds, bond price can rise, and yield on bond or rate of return on bond can fall. This rate of return on bond is what you read in newspapers as yield on bond. All right? This rate of return on bond is what you read in the newspapers as yield on bond. So my yield on bond is my rate of return on bond, and as bond price rises, that yield on bond falls. Well, I can make, and when is it happening? When the money supply is high. All right? जब economy में liquidity ज़्यादा है और उसके उतनी demand नहीं है money के लिए, तो लोग उस money को लेके bond market में जाते हैं, bond की price बढ़ जाती है क्योंकि demand बढ़ता है bond का, और bond का rate of return या फिर जिसे हम yield on bond कहते हैं वो कम हो जाता है. Is everybody clear on that? Okay. Now, suppose I create a case 2. Because I can sell it at 108 tomorrow if the market continues like this. Within a month. That is what you call speculation. You understand? That I'm not bothered about. Are you ever bothered about the dividend on the share? You are always bothered about how my share value will rise, no? You understand that? So that is the financial market transaction idea. That I'm not bothered about 110. That is a given. That is the least I will get. I am interested at what if in 1 month I can get 108. If I'm buying a bond at 105, somewhere I'm expecting it and hence buying it. All right. On the other hand, suppose there starts a case 2 in which there is low money supply. एक ऐसा सिचुएशन आ जाए जिसमें अचानक लिक्विडिटी कम हो जाए, लोगों के हाथ में पैसे नहीं है, लोग डिमांड कर रहे हैं लेकिन पैसे नहीं मिल रहे हैं उनको. समथिंग लाइक अ ग्लोबल इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस, व्हेन पीपल वांट मनी बट दे आर नॉट गेटिंग इट बिकॉज नोबडी वांट्स टू लेंड. Everybody is keeping their money tight because everybody feels maybe there will be a crisis in future. Let me hold on to my money. I will not put it in any place. So that is called a low money supply situation, when I need money but I don't have it. All right, I demand for money, I need liquidity, but I'm not getting it. Suppose this person purchases the bond and then realizes I have a low liquidity in the market. I suddenly, ऐसा सोच लीजिए, suppose this person is a banker and this banker uses the depositor's money to purchase the bond, expecting, okay, I'll make a rate of return on this bond and I will give some part of it to my depositors. But suddenly, as soon as the banker purchases this bond, the banker realizes, as soon as the banker purchases this bond, the banker realizes that I'm running short of money. A lot of depositors have come asking for money. So what do I do? So what the banker does is, banker says, okay, I need money for myself. Let me sell the bond. Do I believe you understand that? I'm just repeating myself in Hindi. एक बैंकर है, उन्होंने बॉन्ड खरीदा ये सोचकर कि जब बॉन्ड मैच्योर होगा मुझे पैसे मिलेंगे. बट जैसे उन्होंने बॉन्ड खरीदा, एक ऐसी सिचुएशन आई कि मनी सप्लाई कम है, तो बहुत सारे लोग वो बॉन्ड खरीदने आ गए. ऑलराइट, आई मीन वो पैसे लेने आ गए. तो बैंकर को लगा मैं कहाँ से पैसे दूं अपने डिपॉजिटर के, तो उन्होंने सोचा चलो ये बॉन्ड बेच देता हूँ और जो बॉन्ड बेच के पैसा हाथ में आएगा वो मैं डिपॉजिटर को दे दूंगा. आई एम जस्ट क्रिएटिंग अ स्टोरी, trying to make you understand that if there is a situation when money demand is relatively higher and money supply is relatively lesser, then you tend to sell your bonds. अगर सरकार आपको उतना मनी सप्लाई करके नहीं दे रहे जितना आपको चाहिए, तो आप क्या करते हैं, आपके हाथ में जो असेट हैं उन्हें बेचेंगे ताकि उससे मनी आए और आप उसे यूज कर सकें. Alright, if you are not having enough money that's compared to what you want, then you will sell your asset, get money in your hand to use it for purposes. So what do you do now? What you do now is you say that, look, I'm willing to sell the bond. Suppose you have this green person. This fellow says, okay, I'll buy your bond. But since this person knows that you are desperate and everybody is selling bonds now, that kind of a market, money supply is low. So this person says, I will buy your bond for 95 rupees. Again, I repeat, I'm just creating a situation to make you see something. This person says, all right, let me sell it for 95. I badly need money. Even if I make a loss, it's okay. But let's sell it off for the time being. कब करेंगे ये ऐसा? When this person expects that the bond price will go further below 95. You understand that? Why is this person buying money? This person expects that bond price in future will be above 95. That is what you call speculation. Everybody is expecting. It's not a reality. All right, but everybody is expecting in a particular manner. Suppose it happens, again this person after 1 year, अगर ये 1 year तक bond hold कर लिए, तो इनको 110 ही मिलेगा, because that's the promised amount. In that case, the rate of return for this person will be far higher at approximately 16%. You understand that? I'm trying to teach you something here. What I'm trying to teach you is, if bond price rises, yield on bond falls. If bond price falls, yield on bond rises. Everybody can notice that? All right? So I'll again just write it up for you. I said, if bond price rises, yield on bond falls, and if bond price falls, yield on bond rises. I wrote just that much at the moment. Everybody is clear why that is happening? I need you to focus now on this. Suppose this is a government bond. Okay, there is one more thing about bond that you should know, that you cannot default on a bond. If you default on a bond, then you are immediately declared bankrupt. That's another thing all of us must know about bonds, that it is not possible to default on a bond. If anybody defaults on a bond, they are declared immediately bankrupt. All right, that is another thing to keep in mind. इंट्रिंसिक मीन्स व्हाट इज योर एक्चुअल वैल्यू. गोल्ड का इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू गारंटी पे डिपेंड नहीं होता दिव्या. गोल्ड का इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू, गोल्ड है, उसे उसे अगर मेल्ट भी कर दो तो उतना ही रहेगा. लेकिन रुपया के बराबर का नोट अगर मैं तुम्हें दूं तो नहीं मानोगे ना उसको. गांधी जी की तस्वीर बना दूं तो भी, क्योंकि उसमें इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू नहीं है. पेपर का इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू नहीं होता. ऑलराइट, इसीलिए. ओके गीतिका, यू कैन से दैट. Bindu, don't go towards inflation right now. All right, you stay for what we are doing right now. If you go towards inflation, we are in trouble. Yes, when economy is rich, the precautionary demand is high. Sahitya, I'm answering your question. Money is returned by buying and selling in the open market. Jyoti, I'm answering your question. All right. No, bonds that are signed during job are not financial assets, Avinav. हमेशा खुद को अप्लाई करते रहोगे. मैं जानता हूं अकेले बैठते हो तुम लोग तो अप्लाई करना थोड़ा मुश्किल होता है, बट मैंने बोला बॉन्ड फाइनेंशियल असेट है. और जो बॉन्ड तुम साइन करते हो इन केस ऑफ योर जॉब्स, दे आर नॉट फाइनेंशियल असेट. You sign them for a period of time that you will not leave the company or you will pay a fine. But you are not getting any return on those bonds. So please be willing to distinguish. Similar name things बहुत सारे मिलेंगे इकोनॉमी में, जैसे equity as a concept of equitability, equality, and equity share as a concept of voting rights for people who buy shares of a company. Similar name देख के उन्हें same नहीं मानना है. मेरे वाइफ का नाम मौसमी है, मैं कलकत्ता जाके मौसमी चिल्लाऊंगा, 100 लड़कियां मेरी तरफ आएंगी. सभी मेरे वाइफ नहीं हो सकते. ठीक है, ये सब लोग दिमाग में रखेंगे. तो ये कंफ्यूजन मत आने देना. जब भी आप देखते हैं कोई नाम एक जैसा, बिल्कुल कंफ्यूज नहीं करेंगे, उसके मतलब को समझेंगे. And this I am saying to all of you in economics, that's always a perpetual threat that exists. All right, that similar sounding things are not same, similar looking things are not same. कभी कभी आपसे टेलीग्राम पे भी मुझे मैसेज मिलता है, सर लगता तो वैसा ही है. यही मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, लगेगा बहुत कुछ ऐसा, उसे सच मानना खतरनाक है. ऑलराइट, सो डोंट टेक इट एज रियलिटी. जो लग रहा है उसे लगने दो, पर उसकी डिटेल समझ लो कि क्या बात है. ऑलराइट, बट प्लीज बी केयरफुल. बॉन्ड नाम की इलेक्टरल बॉन्ड भी होता है, तो इलेक्टरल बॉन्ड का फाइनेंशियल मार्केट से थोड़ी कुछ लेना देना होता है. इलेक्टरल बॉन्ड इज द ट्रस्ट that an individual puts in a political party and therefore donates money to that party. But the person is not donating money to get something in return in financial terms. तो कभी भी एक जैसे टर्म अगर साउंड करें, उन्हें एक जैसा नहीं मानना है. जो बात हो रही है उसी पे चिपके रहो बिल्कुल. ये सभी को बोलूंगा मैं. दूसरी बात, जब भी ये टॉपिक्स होते हैं, कभी कभी आपका माइंड आपको कहीं और ले जाएगा. मैं कुछ बोल रहा हूं, तुम दुनिया में चले गए कहीं. अगर बाई चांस चले गए तो वापस मुझे बताओ, सर मैं कहीं चला गया था, आप जरा मुझे फिर से अगर लाइन पे ला दे. Because it's very important. At times it's very much possible that I am talking something technical, and while I am talking something technical, you are doing some other technicalities. So if you are busy with those technicalities, come back and see things. These are all new things for many of you. So since they are new, you need to understand them well. So again I repeat the main idea that bonds are the safest asset because you cannot default on the bond. अगर मैं किसी कंपनी का या सरकार का इशू किया बॉन्ड खरीद रहा हूं, तो वो सेफेस्ट एसेट माना जाता है, because people who have issued the bond, if they default on the bond, then that will be considered as bankruptcy immediately. The person will be declared bankrupt, their assets will be sold to recover the money. So even the issuer of the bond, it is their last option to default on the bond. नहीं देकर पैसा, मैंने तुम्हें बॉन्ड दिया, तुम मेरे पास आए, सर मेरे पैसे दो, नहीं है. I mean, समझ रहे हो मेरी बात? डिफॉल्ट कैसे कर सकते हैं, भारत में रह के कैसे पूछ सकते हो? हमारे देश में तो डिफॉल्ट ही चलता है. Anyways, then so this is only a promised value. No, I've promised on maturity I'll give you this value. What if I am a bank who has gone bankrupt? I can't pay that value. I'm defaulting on my bonds now. All right. Okay. Now I have a question to ask you. The question I have to ask you is this: that suppose this is a government bond, and this government bond is giving you a 10% rate of return or yield, beginning part, forget the yellow and green part, just the beginning part, that market is trading in a government bond, 100 rupees. You purchase it. After 1 year, you will get 110 rupees. So 10% your trading part. Okay. Now, suppose you have 100 rupees in your pocket and you are planning to put it somewhere, lend it out. Because end of the day, even if you buy the bond, you're lending it to the government, isn't it? Okay. Suppose I come to you and I tell you that I need 100 rupees, please give it to me. Will you give me this 100 rupees if you give it to me at 10% interest only, or will you charge little more on that? कितने खराब लोग हो तुम. But absolutely right. You will charge little more because I am riskier than the government. You understand that? You know what I'm trying to teach you? The interest rate you will charge will be directly related to yield on the bond, because bond is the safest asset. Any other lending you will do will be at a higher rate than the rate of return you are getting on the bond. Suppose you say that I will give returns, keep listening to this very carefully. Suppose if you say that I'll give loan to Vibhas at government bond yield plus K%, that whatever is the government bond yield plus K% will be the interest rate I will charge from Vibhas. Interest rate is what? The money that you can charge from your borrower. That is my interest rate. Never get bothered. If a bank is increasing its lending rate, that is the rate at which it lends, then the bank will also automatically increase its deposit rate, that is the rate it will give to its depositor. So all rates in the economy, the interest rates, move in same direction. So don't bother that which rate sir is talking about. End of the day, whenever somebody is a borrower, somebody is a lender, there is an interest rate involved. Even if you are a depositor in the bank, indirectly you are lending money to the bank and the bank will promise you an interest rate. So all interest rates in the market rise together, or all interest rates in the market fall together. Now understand this. If the bond yield rises from 10% to 16%, won't you also increase the interest rate at which you will lend to others in the market? Yes? And similarly, if the bond yield falls from 10% to 4.7%, won't you also reduce the interest rate at which you are lending in the market? Do I believe you understand that? What I'm trying to teach you is that bond yield and interest rate are directly related to each other. If bond yield rises, interest rates will rise. If bond yield falls, interest rate will fall. Now I'm saying something, you tell me if you would agree. If price of bond rises, interest rate will fall. You see that? And if price of bond falls, interest rate will rise. क्योंकि जो yield on bond के साथ हो रहा है, वही interest rate के साथ होगा. आप समझ पा रहे हैं मेरी बात? By chance कोई नहीं समझे तो मैं repeat कर रहा हूं, सुनिएगा ध्यान से. Bond का yield बताता है कि bond आपको क्या rate of return दे रहा है. The yield on bond tells you that what is the rate of return you are getting on bond. Bond is the safest asset. If bond is the safest asset, anybody else who comes to you and borrows money, you will be charging an interest rate which will be connected to the bond yield. If the bond yield is high, you will also charge this person a high interest rate, because bond is your opportunity cost, the bond yield. आप बोलेंगे अगर ये मुझे हाई इंटरेस्ट रेट नहीं देते तो कोई बात नहीं, इनके जगह मैं बॉन्ड में पैसा लगा सकता हूं. You understand that? That is why bond yield and interest rate get connected to each other. That if somebody gives you a higher interest rate, given the high risk, you'll say, okay, then I can take the risk and give money to this person, and other way around. Now, you tell me, will people buy bond when the bond prices are already high, or when bond prices are low? Low, because then they will expect bond price will rise in future and I'll make gains. Okay, think. Now go to the language I was using. When people are holding money in their hand, waiting for the bond price to fall, which means what? People are expecting that the bond price is already high, and I would rather not buy the bond. I will hold money in my hand. So when bond price is high, people hold more money in their hand and they don't buy the bond. So when is money demand high for speculation? When bond price is high. You understand that? When bond price is high, people are speculating, more and more people, that this bond price will fall only in future. Therefore, let us not buy bond, let us keep money in hand. So when bond price is high, money demand is high for speculation. Now think, when bond price is high, interest rate is low, no? They are inversely related. So people are holding more money in their hand when interest rate is low. You understand that? When interest rate is low, money demand is high. आप इसको दिमाग में कैसे बिठाओगे? When interest rate is low, when interest rate is low, it means bond price is high. And when bond price is high, then people won't buy bonds, they will hold more money in their hand. So when interest rate is low, there is more demand for money, waiting for bond price to fall. Now similarly think, if interest rate is rising, it means bond price must be falling. If interest rate is rising, it means bond price must be falling. If bond price is falling, will people still hold money or will they buy bond? Which means the demand for money will become less as interest rate falls. You see that? So as interest rate is falling, people will, so that means what? Bond price falls, interest rate rises, people hold more bonds. Bond price is high, people hold more money. I'm writing something, you understand it in that manner. I'm saying that if bond price is high, that means interest rate is low, then people demand more money for speculation as they wait for bond price to fall. On the other hand, if interest rate is high, and bond price is low, then people demand bonds and hold less money. So what I'm trying to teach you is that speculative demand for money is high when interest rate is low, and the other way around. Speculative demand for money will be low when interest rate is high. ये याद रखना है आपको एग्जाम के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से. I hope we are clear on this, that speculative demand for money and interest rate are inversely related to each other. Speculative demand for money and interest rate are inversely related to each other. When speculative demand for money is high, it means people are holding more money in hand. That will happen only when bond price is high, and therefore interest rate is low. And similarly, if speculative demand for money is low, it means people must have bought the bonds, and they will buy bonds only when bond price comes down and interest rate is high. I'll tell you a wrong way, but that can help you remember in the exam. Please don't speak up this in an interview or something. But the wrong way is that I keep more money in my bank when the bank gives me high interest rate, and I don't keep it in my hand. So I demand less money when interest rate is high. I keep it in the bank, and I demand more money in my hand when bank gives me lesser interest rate. You understand that? Same story you can keep here also in the mind. Are we clear on this? So we have money demand for transaction, precaution, and speculation. And speculative demand for money, the bond part is important. Please keep it in mind. While teaching you central banking, I will again use it. That bonds are financial assets. They are issued by people who want to borrow. They are purchased by people who want to lend. They are for a fixed maturity period normally, except for perpetuities. They are considered safest asset because you cannot default on them. If you default, you will be declared bankrupt immediately. They don't give you a fixed rate of return. They give you a fixed amount of return called their coupon value. Like 100 rupees bond issued for 110 rupees on maturity, 10 rupees becomes the coupon value. All right. But if you trade in that bond, somebody buys that bond at a higher price, the coupon value doesn't change. I mean 110 will still remain 110, which will mean the rate of return will come down. अब तुम दिमाग में क्या रख सकते हो? If money supply is high, if the market has high liquidity, then yield on bond is low. And if money supply is low, market has less liquidity, then yield on bond is high. तो अब जब आप अखबार में पढ़ेंगे yield on bonds are showing a rising trend, तो आपका दिमाग क्या रजिस्टर कर लेगा? इसका मतलब लिक्विडिटी कम हो रही है मार्केट में. You understand that? That's what I want you to acknowledge, that in the newspapers, if you read that yield on bond are tending to rise, it means the liquidity is becoming lesser in the market. If you read the yield on bonds have fallen, it means there is more liquidity in the market. I hope I'm clear to you on this. Okay. Now you give a heading, you write money supply. These were talks on money demand. Now you give a heading, you write money supply. जो हम लोग वो लीगल टेंडर्स में लोग उन्हें एक्सेप्ट करेंगे ही ना, जो पैसा तुम ट्रांसफर कर रहे हो. ठीक है. नाउ व्हेन वी से मनी सप्लाई, वी से it is the stock of money circulating in an economy at any given point of time. Stock of money circulating in an economy at any given point of time. Okay, I'll tell you what. So money can circulate not only in terms of currency, that of course it can, but money can also circulate in terms of my deposits in the bank, because I can withdraw them to use for expenses. Money can circulate in terms of the fixed deposits I keep in the bank. You understand that? Money can circulate in terms of some other financial asset with the bankers that I might have kept. I'll teach you all that. But money circulation is not only about currency. It is also about other financial assets you could have created with that money. Now, till 1998, we had a method of measuring money, 97 rather, based on the old monetary system of India. We used to call it M1, M2, M3, M4. We would measure money accordingly. But in 1997, or by 1997, Indian money market had gone through a lot of changes. Changes like new instruments introduced, new methodologies introduced. For example, before 1997, we did not allow, or before 1995, I'm sorry. So before 1995, we did not allow a fixed deposit of less than 1 year duration. After 1995, we started allowing fixed deposit of less than 1 year duration. So you had to count it in a different manner. So that is why there was a change in counting process starting 1997. तो सरकार ने एक कमिटी बनाई, उनका नाम रखा वाईवी रेड्डी कमिटी, और क्योंकि वो वाईवी रेड्डी सर के अंदर था, और वो वाईवी रेड्डी कमिटी जो थी, उनको काम दिया गया that you measure the money supply now, the new method. So they gave their report in 1998, and from 2004 we are measuring money in the new monetary aggregates term. Like जो YV रेड्डी कमिटी ने सजेस्ट किया था, उसके हिसाब से अब हम मनी सप्लाई मेजर करते हैं. लेकिन किसी कारण से, मुझे नहीं पता किस कारण से, I don't know why, but NCERT still lives with the old money supply measure. All right, if you see NCERT, you will still see M1, M2, M3, M4, the old money supply measure, and they're not giving you the new money supply aggregates. What I will do is, I'll give you both, because since NCERT has older one, we don't know if UPSC goes that side. And since new ones are already in picture now, and since very long now, so they can always ask you what are the components of the new money supply aggregates in India. So we'll do both one by one. आप एक heading दीजिए अभी. You write old monetary aggregates. Old monetary aggregates. So, in this old monetary aggregate, we begin with M1. This is currency in circulation plus demand deposit with commercial banks plus other deposits with RBI. Currency in circulation. Currency in circulation means the money lying with people, money lying in the vault of the bank, money lying with companies. All this money that is lying at different places is currency in circulation, which can be used for transaction. So currency in circulation, and I'm not deliberately dictating all this to you when I'm speaking. If you open up your book on page 50, you will have all these details, money demand, money supply, ये सारी कहानी आपको मिल जाएगी. Speculative demand की कहानी नहीं है, इसलिए मैं आपको डिटेल में बता रहा था. Otherwise, many of these things you will find in your book. So I'm just telling you things. But I'm telling you in detail, so don't worry about that. So currency in circulation is the money circulating in the economy, money lying in the hands of public, money lying with banks, money, not the deposit. बैंक का अपना कैश जो उन्होंने हाथ में रखा है, या कोई कॉर्पोरेट है, मान लीजिए नेक्स्ट आईएएस अपने पास 1000 रुपया रखते हैं कि अचानक लोगों को कॉफी पिलाना पड़ा तो मैं पिलाऊंगा. दैट इज करेंसी लाइंग विद नेक्स्ट आईएएस. यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट? दैट इज द पार्ट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. Then there is demand deposits with commercial bank. As the name suggests, demand deposit means those deposits which can be withdrawn at any point of time. Freely withdrawable deposit. All right, they are called demand deposit. For example, all deposits in the current account. All right, current account क्या होता है? Which companies open with banks. अगर एक कंपनी है वो बैंक के साथ करंट अकाउंट खोलते हैं और करंट अकाउंट में कोई रेस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं होता, यू कैन विड्रॉ ऑल योर डिपॉजिट्स ऑल्सो. सो डिमांड डिपॉजिट इज ऑल डिपॉजिट इन द करंट अकाउंट. डिमांड डिपॉजिट इज ऑल्सो all the deposit in the savings account, the account that me and you can have in a bank. So all the deposits in the savings account above the minimum reserve requirement or the minimum balance requirement. Remember, when we keep our money in savings account in the bank says you can keep your money above a minimum balance should always be maintained. All right, अगर बैंक बोलते हैं आपको 1000 per month maintain करना है, that has to be maintained always. So above that minimum balance is freely withdrawable. All right, so again I repeat, current account deposit with the bank and all money above the minimum balance in the savings bank account, they qualify as demand deposits with the commercial bank. Is everybody clear on that? And then other deposits with RBI are freely withdrawable deposits of international institutions with RBI. Suppose I am United Nations Development Program or I am a World Health Organization office. I am located in India. I need money from time to time. I have money in my hand. I put my money with RBI and I am allowed to freely withdraw it at any point of time. All right. Then in that case, they are called other deposits with RBI. All right, so other deposits with RBI are those deposits which are kept by international institutions or non-resident Indians with RBI. वी क्लियर ऑन दैट? अब एक बात समझिए, ये सारी चीजें जो हमने की, कैश इन हैंड, करेंसी, सॉरी डिमांड डिपॉजिट्स, other deposits with RBI, they are freely withdrawable, right? All of them. So it is called the the most liquid measure of money supply. ये money supply का वो measure है जहाँ liquidity सबसे ज़्यादा है. It is called the most liquid measure of money supply. It is that measure of money supply which has highest liquidity. You can withdraw immediately any of this amount. Then came M2. M2 is M1 plus post office savings deposit of less than 1 year maturity. Post. Except national savings certificates. I'll explain this to you. अब देखो, independence के बाद, after independence, we did not have huge banking done by the government. We did not have those facilities, but we wanted to mobilize savings. So we allowed the post offices to take deposits from people. All right, people could deposit their money with the post offices. So then we counted M2 as M1 plus post office savings deposit of less than 1 year maturity. पोस्ट ऑफिस के अंदर रखे हुए वो सारे सेविंग्स डिपॉजिट जो 1 साल के अंदर मैच्योर हो रहे हैं और आप उन्हें विड्रॉ कर सकते हैं. All right, all those savings deposits in the post office which are maturing within 1 year and can be withdrawn. But remember one thing, people deposit money in post office also under National Savings Certificate scheme. National Savings Certificate is actually not a deposit, it is a bond issued by post office. All right, therefore, while counting money supply, we count all the money deposited with post office except the money put under National Saving Certificate. All right, जब हम मनी सप्लाई काउंट करते हैं इकोनॉमी में तो उस वक्त सारा पैसा जो पोस्ट ऑफिस के पास है उसे काउंट करते हैं, उस पैसे को छोड़कर जो नेशनल सेविंग सर्टिफिकेट में लगाया गया है. I can believe we are clear on that. Then there is a measure called M3. This is M1 plus time or fixed or term deposit with commercial banks. You know, M3 is M1 plus time, fixed or term deposit with commercial banks. All right, that is M3. I'll tell you what I imply by that. Okay, just one more thing. I can believe you understand fixed deposit, deposits which cannot be withdrawn freely. If there is a fixed deposit, you have kept it fixed for a period of time in the bank and you cannot withdraw it freely. Such deposits are called fixed deposit. अभी फिक्स डिपॉजिट के ही ये अलग अलग नाम है, टर्म डिपॉजिट, टाइम डिपॉजिट, फिक्स डिपॉजिट, ये सब एक ही चीज को कहते हैं. ऑलराइट, नेवर गेट कंफ्यूज्ड. सो वेदर यू सी द टर्म यूज्ड एज टाइम डिपॉजिट or fixed deposit or term deposit, they all mean the same. That is that deposit which cannot be freely withdrawn from the bank. All right, they are called term, time or fixed deposit. Now, all those fixed deposits which are with the commercial bank plus M1 will give me M3. अब यहाँ एक और बात का ख्याल रखोगे, M1 was also called narrow money because of its narrow definition of money. And M3 was called broad money. All right, narrow money and broad money. I'm sure you are also understanding that M3 is lesser liquid than M1, isn't it? Because you cannot convert fixed deposit into currency immediately. So M3's liquidity is lesser than M1. Okay. Till 1997, RBI will use M3 as their measure of money supply that they used to target. All right, like जब RBI बोलते थे मैं मनी सप्लाई बढ़ा रहा हूँ या मैं मनी सप्लाई कम कर रहा हूँ तो वो M3 को टारगेट करते थे. All right, so M3 was the headline measure of money supply. जब भी आप ये वर्ड देखोगे हेडलाइन, इसका मतलब होता है पॉलिसी टारगेट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल NM, CPI combined is the headline measure of inflation. Or for example, GDP at market price is the headline measure of growth. You understand that? तो पॉलिसी मेकिंग के लिए जिसे यूज किया जाता है उसे कहते हैं हेडलाइन मेजर. So similarly, M3 in those days was headline measure of money supply. And then we had an M4, which was M3 plus post office deposits of more than 1 year maturity. That is M4. M3 plus post office deposit of more than 1 year maturity. All right? So, M1 narrow money, we talk about it as currency in circulation, plus all those deposits which can be withdrawn freely, plus other deposits with RBI kept by international institutions which can be withdrawn freely. M2, which is M1, plus post office deposits of less than 1 year maturity, except NSC. M3, M1 plus time deposit or fixed deposit, and M4 as M3 plus post office deposits of more than 1 year maturity. एक बात और समझना यहाँ, M2 and M4 were not that important as a measure of money supply. They were just taken to get better idea as to how the economy is doing overall. Because post office deposits have never been even 5% of total deposits in this country. All right, पोस्ट ऑफिस डिपॉजिट्स इतने बड़े होते ही नहीं हैं. तो जो कंट्री के मेजर डिपॉजिट्स हैं वो बैंक में होते हैं. So post office deposits have never been even 5% of total deposits. So people take M2 and M4 not as that important as M1 and M3. But as I told you, 1997, the methods changed. We appointed the YV Reddy committee. They gave their report. 2004 onwards, the new application came in. And today in India, we do not have M1, M2, M3, M4. We have NM1, NM2, NM3, and NM4. The new NM3, sorry. The new monetary aggregates and the liquidity aggregates. All right. अब इंडिया में वो कैलकुलेट होता है न्यू मॉनेटरी एग्रीगेट एंड लिक्विडिटी एग्रीगेट. सो अब यू गिव अ हेडिंग नाउ, यू राइट न्यू मॉनेटरी एग्रीगेट्स. न्यू मॉनेटरी aggregates. Headline measure means the measure which you are using. Headline measure means the measure that you are using for policy making. That is headline measure. Okay. Now, if you look at the new monetary aggregate, all right, the first one that we begin with is NM1. All right, the first one that we begin with is NM1. NM1 is same as M1. That is currency plus demand deposit plus other deposit. All right, the new method is same as M1. All right, तो NM1 और M1 में कोई फर्क नहीं है. All right, जो M1 था currency in circulation, demand deposit, other deposits with RBI, same thing is NM1. Then came NM2. NM2 is NM1 plus time or fixed or term deposits with banks with less than 1 year maturity plus certificate of deposits issued by banks in the money market. This is NM2. NM1 plus time or fixed or term deposits with banks with less than 1 year maturity plus certificate of deposits issued by banks in the money market. I'll tell you what one implies by that. पहली बात, NM1 के सारे components, currency plus demand deposits plus other deposits, वो तो आएगा ही. साथ में there will be all fixed deposits with less than 1 year maturity now. If you recall, I told you that till 1995, we did not allow fixed deposits with less than 1 year maturity. Now we allow fixed deposits even for 15 days, even for 7 days, even for 200 days. So they are all fixed deposits with maturity less than 1 year. They get counted under NM2. अगर आपने बैंक के पास कोई फिक्स डिपॉजिट रखा है जो 1 साल से कम में मैच्योर होगा तो उसे आप NM2 का हिस्सा मानते हैं. The third is certificate of deposits issued by the banks in money market. अब देखो ये डिपॉजिट नहीं है, ये सर्टिफिकेट्स हैं, बॉन्ड की तरह हैं, लेकिन मैंने आपको बता दिया है कि तरह का मतलब वही नहीं होता. Alright, if it sounds like that, it's not the same. So it's like a bond, but it is not a bond. They are certificates of deposit issued by the banks for up to 1 year duration. They are not for more than 1 year. They are issued by the bank for up to 1 year duration, mainly to other banks or insurance companies and all. Alright, so suppose a bank needs money. A bank issues certificate of deposit and says, look, we are issuing this certificate of deposit of say 1 lakh rupee. Anybody buying it will get 10,000 rupees from me 1 year later. You understand that? Normal individuals like me and you don't buy these deposits. They are bought by other bankers who may have surplus money. They are bought by maybe insurance companies who have surplus money. You understand that? So they are allowed to participate in the market called money market. So if a bank has lesser money in its hand, wants to borrow from the market, another tool given to the banks is certificate of deposit. Now there is nothing called certificate of deposit that existed till 1994 in India. We allowed certificate of deposits only from 1995 and they became popular only around 1997 and that is why Reddy committee was established कि अब ये जो नए टूल आए हैं बैंक के पास पैसे मोबिलाइज करने के उनको कैसे ट्रीट किया जाए आप मनी सप्लाई के थ्रू बताइए. Alright, the new tools that have come to mobilize money, how will you treat it in money supply? Because remember in M1, M2, M3, M4 they didn't exist. But these are factors which will affect money supply in the market. How deposits are being mobilized and all. So that is why certificate of deposits get added as NM2. I repeat again, what are certificate of deposits? Certificate of deposits will be paper assets against certificates issued by the bankers to other bankers or financial institutions for borrowing money up to 1 year. And they are issued in terms of 1 lakh rupee, 2 lakh rupees, lakh के term में ही issue हो सकता. 1,30,000 का certificate of deposit नहीं हो सकता. वो या तो 1 lakh का होगा, या 2 lakh का, या 5 lakh का, या 10 lakh का. इस तरह से ही issue हो सकता है. You will be taught about certificate of deposits, commercial papers, all these things in detail when Reddy sir is doing financial markets with you. So I'm just giving you an idea that what is meant by certificate of deposits. And then there is what we call NM3. This is NM2. NM3 is NM2 plus सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ डिपॉजिट में कोई मैक्सिमम लिमिट नहीं है लेकिन वो 1 साल के लिए ही हो सकते हैं. ऑलराइट, सो NM3 is NM2 plus fixed or term or time deposit of more than 1 year maturity plus borrowings of commercial banks from non-banking financial companies. Borrowings of commercial banks from non-banking financial company. I will teach you how RBI influences money supply, Kiran. I'm not yet, uh, you know, I'm not yet reached there. I will teach you how RBI influences money supply. You will have to wait on that. Okay. So when we are using this word NM3, I repeat again, it's NM2 plus all fixed deposits with more than 1 year maturity plus all borrowings that commercial banks make from the non-banking financial companies. Now what are these? You must have heard of companies like say Muthoot Finance or India Bulls, you see that, or Bajaj Financial Services. These are all non-banking financial companies. What do? They are financial institutions. They will give loans, they will issue bonds, they will purchase bonds of other companies. But and most many of them are not allowed to take deposits, and they are not registered under Banking Act of India. They are registered under Companies Act. That is why non-banking, because they are not banks, financial companies, but they are doing financial issues, so financial companies because they are registered under Companies Act of India. All right. So non-banking financial company. Non-banking because they are not registered under Banking Act. Financial companies they are because they are also giving loans, they are issuing bonds, they are buying bonds of other companies. All this they are doing. So they are, for all practical purposes, they are in the financial market, but they are not a bank. They are registered under Companies Act. So they are non-banking financial company, like a Bajaj Financial Services or a Cholamandalam Finance or a Muthoot Finance and so on and so forth. Or India Bulls. They are all non-banking financial companies. अब एक बात समझिएगा, बैंक्स कुछ बॉन्ड्स इशू कर सकते हैं या सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ डिपॉजिट्स इशू कर सकते हैं जिन्हें नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल कंपनीज भी खरीद सकती हैं. All right. So all those borrowings that a bank does from non-banking financial companies will count under NM3. Why? Because this becomes another source of money for the bank. So all the ways in which money can circulate in the banking system is what we count under NM1, NM2 and NM3. I can believe we are clear on that? Okay. Now in your book I have given you, yes. एनबीएफसी समझ गए हो? जो मैंने बोला नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल कंपनी, वो मीनिंग समझ गए हो? उनसे जो पैसा बैंक लेते हैं वो हो गए बोरोइंग फ्रॉम एनबीएफसी. ठीक है? ऑल राइट. नाउ in your book I have given you few more measures. They are called L1, L2 and L3. There is nothing new in them. You can read through that. Like for example, L1 is NM3 plus post office deposits with the banks. Post office deposits in the economy. That is L1, liquidity measure 1. But वो monetary aggregates अब नहीं माने जाते. They are not taken as monetary aggregates. They are taken as liquidity measures. कि और क्या तरीके हैं जिससे इकोनॉमी में liquidity है. तो एक L1 लिया जाता है जिसमें हम NM3 में ऐड कर देते हैं all post office deposits. All right. So I will advise, please read through the topic, that thing on L1, L2, L3. और इन सबको तुम्हें करना क्या है? रट लेना है, याद कर लेना है. एग्जाम में आपसे पूछेंगे किसके कंपोनेंट क्या हैं और क्या नहीं है. Alright, that is the way they will ask you. That is something a component of NM1, component of NM2, and so on. Or sometimes they can give you match the following, or they can give you a statement, certificate of deposit is not included in NM1. That's a true statement. Certificate of deposit is not included in NM3. Is that a true statement or a false statement? False. Because certificate of deposit is part of NM2 and NM2 is a part of NM3. I can believe we are clear on that. Okay. Now you give a heading, you write central bank. They can be, bond is a method of borrowing only. Certificate of deposits, if that is the case, it will be a part of NM2 already. So if NBFCs have purchased certificate of deposits, they will be already part of NM2. All right. Okay. You take this now, you write central bank is the topmost institution in any financial system. Full stop. RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, RBI is the central bank of India. Full stop. The main functions of RBI are the main functions of RBI are I will be talking to you about MO, Yashasvi. We will discuss M0. You wait till I go. मैं जानता हूं आप लोगों के मन में आगे की बातें आती होंगी पूछने के वाले में, सभी लोगों के मन में आ सकती हैं. आप लोग थोड़ा होल्ड करके रखेंगे बातों को. मैं स्टेप बाय स्टेप ही जाता हूं. अगर पहली सीढ़ी से तीसरी पे गए ना तो पैंट के लिए खतरा है. ठीक है, तो हमेशा सीढ़ी एक एक करके चढ़नी चाहिए, वो ज़्यादा बेहतर है. तो इसीलिए मैं चाहता हूँ मैं एक एक करके सीढ़ी चढ़े, तो इसीलिए जा रहा हूँ. वैसे मैं पक्का बताऊंगा आपको सारी बातें, आप निश्चिंत रहिए. एवरीथिंग आई टेल यू. M0 NM0 दैट इज उस पर आने वाला हूँ मैं अभी. बट ऑलवेज कीप द कंसेप्ट्स गोइंग. एक और बात है, जो कुछ भी मैं आज तुम्हें पढ़ा रहा हूँ, जो भी उन्हें घर जाके रिवाइज नहीं कर पाएंगे, नर्क में अलग से कढ़ाई की व्यवस्था होगी उनके लिए. ठीक है, ये दिमाग में रखेंगे सब लोग. ये बातें मैं 30 साल से करता आ रहा हूँ, तो मुझे बैक ऑफ द हैंड की तरह आती हैं. आप 30 साल से नहीं करते आ रहे हैं. ऑलराइट, तो आप इसको जब तक रिवाइज नहीं करेंगे, कभी कभी आप बोलते हैं इकोनॉमिक्स में पीछे की बात मैं भूल जाता हूँ. ये नॉर्मल है, किसी भी सब्जेक्ट में आप पीछे की बात भूलेंगे. इकोनॉमिक्स में एक ही चैलेंज है, एवरीथिंग इज इंटरकनेक्टेड. ऑलराइट, एक और बात चूंकि अभी होते देखा मैंने, तो तुमसे एक शेयर कर लेता हूँ. दैट सभी से नहीं कह रहा, बट जिसको लगे मुझसे कह रहे हैं उसी से कह रहा हूँ. कि अगर तुम 1.5 घंटे, क्योंकि अभी मैंने लगातार आपको पढ़ा दिया 1.5 घंटे तक, अगर तुम 1.5 घंटे में कंसंट्रेशन लैप्स होता है किसी भी कारण से, तो उसको ठीक करना शुरू कर दो. क्योंकि इसी कारण से सिली मिस्टेक्स जिनको हम बोलते हैं वो होते हैं एग्जाम में, जब एग्जाम 2 घंटे या 3 घंटे का होता है. ये हमेशा याद रखना. दिस इज व्हाट आई एम टेलिंग यू, बीइंग अ डिसेंट स्टूडेंट इन माय डेज एंड हैविंग टॉट almost half of my life now. You know that, keep it in mind that whenever you feel that I get disturbed after an hour, after 1.5 hour, सर अगर मैं 10 मिनट का ब्रेक ले लेता हूँ ना, फिर फ्रेश हो जाता हूँ. अब ये सुविधा तुम्हें प्रीलिम्स में उपलब्ध नहीं होगी. You won't be allowed that. You will be working on toes. But then the mind is used to working 1 hour and then taking a break of 5 minutes, or 1.5 hour, or taking a break of 10 minutes. The mind will ask for that subconsciously. You cannot give it that. What is the net result? Mistakes. So be prepared. किसी भी एग्जाम को लिखना, कंसंट्रेट करना, ये प्रैक्टिस है मैराथन की तरह. अब मुझे आज बोलोगे सर आप हाफ दिल्ली मैराथन में पार्टिसिपेट करिए, इस तोंद के साथ कैसे पार्टिसिपेट? कहीं आधा किलोमीटर भी भाग लूं तो बहुत है, फिर बैठ जाऊंगा, नहीं होगी मेरी औकात. तो वैसे ही तुम्हें अभी अपनी औकात बनानी है कि 2 घंटे पहले तो लिख सको प्रीलिम्स. अब समझिएगा मेरी बात, मैं आपका टाइम खा रहा हूं, बट आपको ये बात बता रहा हूं कि हमेशा दिमाग में रखो. Many people say CSAT was tough. CSAT has been relatively tough in the last couple of years, but you know there is one more challenge: stamina of the mind and the body. तुम एक रात थोड़ा कम सोए हो, क्योंकि प्रीलिम्स की एक रात पहले नींद कम आती है, ये नॉर्मल है। तो तुम 3 घंटे 4 घंटे सोकर गए हो एग्जाम देने, 5 घंटे बहुत से बहुत, सुबह सुबह 6 बजे उठ गए हो क्योंकि तुम्हें प्रीलिम्स लिखना है। नाउ यू हैव अ जीएस टेस्ट 9:30 to 11:30. You have taken a rigorous GS test. After that, the mind and the body want to sleep the whole day, rest. You have been studying already for 2-3 months, 10-12 hours a day, every day. So now the mind and the body need a closure. माइंड बोलता है हो गया यार, चलो जीएस का पेपर हो गया, अब थोड़ा रेस्ट करें। यूपीएससी बोलता है कहाँ भाई, रुको। Then they give you a break, and to be honest to you, I don't know why such a long break, but they give you a break for 3 hours. In the meantime, you have taken your lunch, whatever you can, and you are not rested, you are not slept, and 2:30, you are again sitting down to solve a paper, which is qualifying paper only, but in that paper you have to solve quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning, comprehension, so you have to apply your brain fully. Unless you are not well practiced, you will be faltering. और ये ओवरनाइट नहीं होगा। तो इसीलिए आपसे रुककर बोला मैं, कंसंट्रेशन एक हैबिट होती है, वो आदत डाल लो, देखना अपने आप तुम एफर्टलेसली, जैसे कुछ लोग 3 घंटे भाग लेते हैं, 1 घंटे भाग लेते हैं, वैसे ही आप 3 घंटे सोच लेंगे बिना डिस्टर्ब हुए। तो ये दिमाग में रखिए आप, ये मुझे लगता है बहुत काम आती है हमारे। और मेंस एग्जाम तो सोचो टेस्ट ऑफ स्टेमिना फिर है, क्योंकि आप 3 दिन लगातार 6 पेपर लिख रहे होते हैं, और सुबह से लेकर रात तक, फिर घर आओ, थोड़ा बहुत रिवाइज करो, अगले दिन जाकर फिर लिखो, और उसके पहले 80 ही दिन है प्रीलिम्स और मेंस के बीच में। तो अगर तुम्हारा प्रीलिम्स क्लियर हो गया तो हो गया, फिर कढ़ाई तैयार है। 80 days and 13-14 hours every day you got to work. और मैं फिर बता रहा हूँ, ये सब आदत है। That is what distinguishes people who have good brain but whose performance is mediocre from those who have good brain and whose performance is superlative. How deeply you have thought over what you are doing. और ये बिल्कुल नहीं कह रहा हूँ फन नहीं होना चाहिए, मेरी बात को उल्टा मत समझना, फन तो होना ही चाहिए, मैं तो आज तक करता हूँ। So I still do it. But concentration is a function. तो वो जरूर रखना दिमाग में। ऐसा ना हो कि एक टीचर ने 1.5 घंटे पढ़ा दिया तो हमारा दिमाग बोले अरे बहुत हो रहा है यार, अब तो रुकना चाहिए, सर को भी कुछ बताना चाहिए। अगर ये होने लगा तो सोचो प्रीलिम्स में तो बहुत से ज्यादा होने वाला है कुछ। ये दिमाग में जरूर रखना। और नहीं तो कोई बात नहीं, दूसरे अटेम्प्ट तक, तीसरे अटेम्प्ट तक सीख जाते हैं लोग, उसकी कोई चिंता की जरूरत नहीं है। पहले अटेम्प्ट में तो ईगो भी रहता है ना बहुत हाई। मैं ऐसे बोल रहा हूँ ना, जैसे कुछ लोगों के आपके मन में आ सकता है क्या तुम बात कर रहे हो, वेट एंड वॉच, मिलता हूँ तुम्हें अगले साल इसी वक्त पर। तो ठीक है, उसमें मुझे कोई आपत्ति नहीं है। बट दिक्कत की बात बस यही है कि मुझे ये एग्जाम के लिए पढ़ाते हुए अब ऑलमोस्ट 2 decades होने को आए, तो मैंने बहुत लोगों को देख लिया बाहर निकलते हुए, अच्छा करते हुए, बुरा करते हुए। सो आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग यू द whole functional part, nothing else. So I was just sharing my experience with you, how I've seen people being very good but still struggling, and sometimes people who have been average so-called in their college days and school days, but clearing this exam in the first attempt. तो ये दिमाग में रखिए आप हमेशा। लेकिन लगातार पढ़ना बहुत जरूरी होता है। एक आखिरी बात बोलूंगा, मेरे मन में आ गई है, मैं हंसूंगा तो आपको लगेगा क्यों हंस रहे हैं, बेचारे का सुबह सुबह पढ़ाते हुए दिमाग। YouTube की तरह यूपीएससी एग्जाम नहीं होता, ठीक है? सबकी दुनिया 12th फेल नहीं है। वो देखकर आप जोश में आ सकते हैं, हाँ मैं भी ऐसे ही दिखा दूंगा, मैं भी। तो कुछ नहीं दिखाओगे, ठीक है? रियल वर्ल्ड में लगातार हार्ड वर्क करना होता है, ठीक है? पहली बात, एक हैप्पी एंडिंग आपने देखी, अच्छी बात है, लेकिन एंड ऑफ द डे वो यूट्यूब नहीं है। दूसरा, तुम ऑफिसर बन भी जाओगे, तुम जब उतरोगे गाड़ी से कोई म्यूजिक नहीं बजेगा, लाइफ ऑफ एन आईपीएस ऑफिसर, फिर उतरते हैं टैटू टैटू, कुछ नहीं होगा तुम्हारा, ठीक है? ऐसा कुछ नहीं होने वाला। तुम उतरोगे वैसे ही उतरोगे, चुपचाप से अपने ऑफिस में जाओगे, आसपास 8-10 लोग रहेंगे, सर ये काम नहीं हुआ, सर ये हो गया, यही सुनते हुए जाओगे। तो ये सब सोच के खुद को एक्साइट मत करना कि ऐसा होने वाला है। दिस एग्जाम इज अ लॉन्ग ड्रॉन अफेयर, लाइक एनी सक्सेस रूट इज। सक्सेस रूट्स आर लॉन्ग ड्रॉन अफेयर्स। कीप वर्किंग, कीप नॉकिंग, एंड देन वन डे यू गेट सक्सेसफुल। दैट इज हाउ इट गोज। ऑलराइट, तो ऐसे ही चलना आप। और एक और बात, इंटरव्यूज भी वैसे नहीं होते जैसे यूट्यूब पे किसी किसी का देखता हूं मैं, ठीक है? दैट इज नॉट द वे यूपीएससी इंटरव्यूज आर कंडक्टेड। व्हाट आर यू डूइंग? आर यू फाइन? आर यू ओके? No, they have a very smiling face. They are sitting, they are talking. In fact, people like Chaube sir or people like Lieutenant General Shukla, they keep you at ease. वो तो आपसे बोलते हैं खाना खा के आए हो, आज नहीं आए हो, मंगवाते कुछ खाना तुम्हारे लिए, थके हुए हो, ऐसी बातें शुरू करते हैं, because they want you to drop your guard. कभी कभी मोनोलॉग देंगे आपको, जैसे अभी मैं दे रहा हूँ थोड़ी देर से, तो एक मोनोलॉग होगा कि आपसे कुछ बोलते रहेंगे, इन इंडिया दिस हैज हैपेंड एंड दैट प्रॉब्लम हैज हैपेंड, बट आई थिंक दैट दिस प्रॉब्लम शुड नॉट हैव हैपेंड। कभी मत सोचो कि अच्छा मोनोलॉग दे रहे हैं, कुछ अपना अंत में सवाल पूछेंगे। वही तुम्हारी टेस्ट ऑफ पर्सनैलिटी चल रही है कि तुम कितने कंसंट्रेशन से बातें सुन सकते हो जब तुम्हें नहीं बोलना। ह्यूमन माइंड का बहुत बड़ा एक फैलेसी है ये, दूसरे बोल रहे होते हैं ना तो अपना मन कर रहा होता है अब मैं इस पर क्या बोल सकता हूं, तो वो गुड लिसनर्स नहीं होते फिर हम में से बहुत लोग। सो दे आर टेस्टिंग दैट देयर मोनोलॉग इज नॉट विदाउट रीजन कि अच्छा आज उनका मूड किया चाय पीने के साथ तुम्हें कुछ लेक्चर देने का तो 3-4 मिनट बोल दिए। दे आर स्पीकिंग 3-4 minutes एंड दे आर ऑब्जर्विंग यू whether you are listening good or not, so how good a listener you are. So that is how they test you. So they never test you as, okay, have you eaten? Remove your mask. Please sit down. Are you okay? ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होता. They don't ask you questions like that. It's a very normal conversation they will do with you. आपको लगेगा कि अपने दादाजी से या बड़े अंकल से बातचीत करके आ गए हम बस, और नॉर्मल बातें पूछते रहेंगे आपसे, आपको क्या लगता है क्या होना चाहिए, आपका क्या ख्याल है इस बारे में, और आप अपने ख्याल बताते रहते हैं। फैक्चुअल्स से उनको पूछते हैं आपसे factuals, but they don't bother much about it. So please keep these things in mind when you are preparing for this exam. Interview is distant, we will guide you for that. But abhi prelims aa raha hai dheere dheere. Focus zarur banao. Focus is the key in this exam. People who are focused, अभी जैसे अनुभव के टेस्ट देते हो मान लो आप, उसके नंबर मत काउंट करो, मेरे इतने ही नंबर आए, मेरे उतने ही नंबर आए होंगे, फरवरी है ये। These numbers reflect nothing about what will happen in May. अच्छे या बुरे, कुछ के अच्छे आ जाएंगे उसी में नाचोगे 4 दिन। वाह, मैंने अनुभव दिया, पता है मेरे कितने आए। वो भी फायदा नहीं है। एक एग्जाम हो गया, खत्म करो। आप कहोगे सर व्हाट शुड आई यूज अनुभव फॉर? You should use अनुभव for A, the simulation of what I told you, whether my body is prepared to write 2 tests in the whole day. B, you will read something on economics, polity, geography, history, anything which may not be there in your notes. So pick up your notes if you have them put, add that thing to your notes. That's all that you have to do. These are all learning experiences. Another thing is, by chance when you make a mistake, don't get subdued by that. Check the reason why you are making a mistake. For example, if you didn't know the thing entirely, now you know something new. Or you had the concept, you brought it down to 2, but you marked the wrong one. All right. In that case, it suggests you need more depth in your knowledge. अगर आप 4 को 2 में ले आ रहे हैं और फिर गलत वाला मार्क कर देते हैं, तो इसका मतलब आपका थोड़ा डेप्थ जो है नॉलेज का और बढ़ जाए, तो वो ठीक हो जाएगा. Third, you lost because you lost concentration in the middle of exam, and there were 6-7 questions which you lost, making silly mistakes, which you knew the answer of as you came out of the hall. ये evaluate करो कि मेरे कौन से mistake ज़्यादा हो रहे हैं. And whichever mistake I am doing more, I will curtail that. So take them as practice exams and keep writing them, even the test series and all prelims test series. वो practice की तरह दो. हर एग्जाम में सीखो कुछ ना कुछ, और खुद को टाइम करो कि 2 घंटे में कितना जल्दी पेपर देख पाता हूं मैं, पढ़ पाता हूं या नहीं, खत्म कर ले. ये सब चीजें देखो. नंबर कितने आए वो अप्रैल में देखना. अप्रैल तक आप आराम से 2 रिविजन्स कर चुके रहेंगे चीजों की, थोड़ा पेपर देखने की आदत रहेगी. सो मे बी आफ्टर मिड अप्रैल, 15-20th April, then you can check how much marks am I scoring. And if you are scoring anything around 75 in the practice tests, whether Anubhav or anything else, in the practice tests, then you are in a, not now, I'm talking April, then you are in a very good zone to crack an 85-90 at least in the main examination, and you are on good track to clear prelims. तो खुद को confidence देते रहो, इन बातों को सोच करके. अच्छा ठीक है, आज अगर तुम्हारे 5 नंबर भी आ रहे हैं, and I'm saying it with all sincerity, I'm not saying it for any other purpose, even if you are getting 5 out of 200 today, it means nothing regarding your prelims prospects, provided you don't stop studying. अब 5 नंबर देखकर 3 दिन हम शोकाकुल होके कोप भवन में पड़े हुए तो ठीक है, फिर तो तुमने 3 दिन खराब किए, नंबर नहीं आएंगे, वो गलत अलग बात है. बट इफ यू आर एक्चुअली वर्किंग, यू विल गेट योर मार्क्स. डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट. आई मीन, जस्ट टोल्ड यू दिस बिकॉज आई कीप गेटिंग मैसेजेस टू दीज इफेक्ट्स क्वाइट अ बिट दैट दिस हैज हैपेंड एंड हाउ डू यू नो डू वी गो अबाउट इट. सो जस्ट कीप इट एज दैट. नेक्स्ट 2 months जस्ट कीप स्टडीइंग, थिंक नथिंग एल्स. ओके, माइंड आपको समझाएगा प्लान बी क्या होना चाहिए मेरा. बोलना 26 मई को रात भर सोचूंगा प्लान बी क्या होना चाहिए. 26 मई तक नहीं सोचना है. ये दिमाग को फीड करो जरूर. Okay, now you write the main functions, sorry, the first function RBI RBI is the only authority RBI is the only authority to create money to create money in India. In a bracket you write all currency notes all currency notes up to value of rupee 1 and all coins of any value are are issued by Ministry of Finance and not by RBI. Are issued by Ministry of Finance and not by RBI. All right, please keep that in mind. It was decided in 1951 only that all small denomination notes up to rupee 1 and all coins will be issued by Ministry of Finance, because it is possible in case of coins that the metal value may become higher than the value on the coin over a period of time. All right. So it was said that let RBI not take this burden, because don't forget, any money issued by RBI is the liability of RBI. All right. Liability in the sense RBI promises to pay the bearer the sum of that amount. So it is the liability of RBI. Now, how does RBI create money? You write in that, in the same point. RBI creates money by multiple increase in money in a fractional reserve system. Okay, I'll explain this to you, what I mean by all this. Now, I want you on the board again. See, there is another term called high-powered money or base money. All right, there is another term called high-powered money or base money. I will explain this to you. It is measured as NM0. All right, ये जो high-powered money है या base money है, इसका नाम रखा गया NM0. All right, that is how it is denominated. This NM0 is currency with public. Mind you, it is not currency in circulation. It is currency with public. That is money held by people. All right, the money that is held by people plus reserves of commercial banks with RBI plus other deposits with RBI. Currency with public plus reserves of commercial banks with RBI plus other deposits with RBI. Reserves of commercial banks का मतलब क्या हुआ? If commercial banks have some surplus money and they keep that surplus money with RBI, then that is reserves of commercial banks with RBI. All right, if commercial banks have some surplus money and they keep that surplus money with RBI, then that is reserves of commercial banks with RBI. All right. So this is, if you look at all the three components, I can believe it should be clear to you that it represents nothing but all the liabilities of RBI. Currency with public is an RBI liability. Reserves that commercial banks have kept with RBI, who will pay it back to commercial banks? RBI, so a liability of RBI, and other deposits with RBI, same thing. The international institutions keeping money with RBI, liability of RBI. So these are liability of RBI. It's called high-powered money because money supply in an economy is the product of high-powered money and money multiplier. Money supply in an economy is the product of high-powered money and money multiplier. All right, that is money supply in an economy. It's a product of high-powered money and money multiplier. Now, what is a money multiplier? So we say that money multiplier is the constant which shows money multiplier is the constant which shows the rate of change, in money supply due to a given change in high-powered money. The rate of change in money supply due to a given change in high-powered money. I will explain these things to you, but let's keep them first. That whenever we use the word high-powered money, we say money supply in the economy is the product of money multiplier and high-powered money, and money multiplier is the constant which shows the rate at which money supply will change if I change high-powered money. And what is high-powered money? Currency with public, reserves of banks with RBI, and other deposits with RBI. Just one more concept you keep in mind. It's called required reserve ratio. We'll keep calling it RRR. This required reserve ratio is the proportion of total deposits that banks have to keep with RBI. The proportion of total deposits that banks have to keep with RBI. All right, that is what we call a required reserve ratio. For example, if the required reserve ratio is 0.2, then it will mean that if a bank gets 100 rupees deposit, then mandatorily they will have to keep 20 rupees with RBI. All right, if the required reserve ratio is 0.2, then out of 100 rupees deposit, the bank has to keep 20 rupees with RBI. Now I am teaching you how RBI creates money supply. What is the method? So suppose RBI creates 20 rupees or say 100 rupees and puts this 20 rupees into the account of an individual called A in a bank X. All right, there is a bank called X. In that bank, there is an individual's account called A. RBI creates 100 rupees, puts it in this account. This is what you call helicopter dropping of money. Printing money, distributing it among people. All right, that is helicopter dropping of money. पैसा छाप के लोगों में बांट देना. All right, that you print money, distribute it among people. Think now, and I will keep assuming required reserve ratio 0.2. Think now, if RBI does that, let us say bank X, on the liability side of bank X, we will have deposits of A 100 rupees. बट एक बात सोचो, अगर मैं एक बैंक हूं और मेरे यहां किसी ने पैसे डिपॉजिट किए तो मेरे रिजर्व्स भी बढ़ जाएंगे ना. You understand that? I am a bank, you are a depositor, you come and put 100 rupees with me. I have a liability to give you 100 rupees, but now I have 100 rupees of yours with me. You understand that? So we say that on the asset side, the reserves of the banks become 100. We have assumed required reserve ratio as 0.2. So now the bank will realize that I don't have to keep a reserve of 100 to maintain a deposit of 100. According to RBI's rule, what the bank can do is it can maintain a reserve of 20 and give a loan to say another person B worth 80. I hope it's clear to us. Okay, what does B do? B takes this money and B has a bank Y. B deposits this money in bank Y. So the liability of bank Y rise by 80. But then again, reserves with bank Y will also rise by 80. Again, what will bank Y assume? I have to maintain 20% of this with RBI and the rest I can give as loan. So what bank Y does, it maintains a reserve of 16 and loan amount to C worth 64. Do I believe you get the point? Again, the same story will continue. C will go say C has an account in bank Z. So C goes to bank Z, deposits this money in bank Z, say 64. On the bank gets reserves 64. Again, the bank will realize that I need to maintain a reserve of 12.8 and I can give a loan to D 51.2. You understand that? And the story will continue, isn't it? Think now what's happening. RBI created a high-powered money of 100. They increased the reserves of the bank. You understand that? RBI created a high-powered money of 100, but money supply is rising by 100 plus 80 plus 64. Then this will get deposited, 51.2, and so on. So an initial 100 rupees created by RBI adding to the reserve of the bank is creating a multiple value of money in the market. क्योंकि अभी अभी आप सीखे that currency plus deposit is money supply. So if deposits are rising, money supply is rising. Just to put it in perspective for you, I can claim that money supply is rising at the rate 100 plus 80 plus 64 plus 51.2 and so on. सब लोग समझ रहे हैं क्यों मैं इसको मनी सप्लाई कह रहा हूं? क्योंकि ये डिपॉजिट्स बढ़ते जा रहे हैं. और डिपॉजिट क्यों बढ़ रहे हैं? क्योंकि बैंक एक फ्रैक्शन को रखकर, फ्रैक्शनल रिजर्व रखकर बाकी लोन दे देते हैं किसी और को जो फिर डिपॉजिट करते हैं कहीं और जाकर. Alright, so the banks are keeping a fraction, lending out the rest, and that becomes new deposit. So every new deposit adds further and further to money supply. Now understand, I can write it as 100 plus 0.8 into 100 plus 0.8 into square into 100 and so on. Where does this 0.8 come from? The common ratio by which I'm changing all this. Why does this 0.8 come in? Because every time I'm keeping 20% in reserve and lending out 80%. So the deposits कैसे बढ़ेंगे आप सोचिए? How will the deposits rise? They will rise as initial high-powered money created by RBI plus 80% of that, plus 80% of that, then 80% of that, and so on. Okay, I'm doing a small exercise now. Let's say this is money supply. If I write 0.8 into money supply, I will get another series which will look like this. if I take a difference between the two, I will get 0.2 money supply, and all this gets cancelled, is equal to 100. And that means I can write money supply is equal to 1 upon 0.2 into 100, that is 500. I want you to see few things. One, this becomes my money multiplier. You see that? Money multiplier is the constant which shows the rate of change in money supply due to a given change in high powered money. This was the change in my high powered money. This became the change in my money supply. In case this maths is worrying you, forget it. मुझे बस ये इसलिए करके दिखाना पड़ा क्योंकि अगर मैं सीधा लिखता ही है तो आप कहते हैं कैसे ऐसे और कोई कारण नहीं है. आप अपने एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इसको बिल्कुल भूलिए, जरूरत नहीं है. जो लोग आप मैथमेटिकली ट्रेंड हैं आप समझ रहे होंगे मैंने कुछ नहीं किया. सम टू इन्फिनिटी, ज्योमेट्रिक सम टू इन्फिनिटी, कॉमन रेशियो लेस देन 1 का फॉर्मूला यूज कर लिया है. आई हैव डन नथिंग एल्स. ऑलराइट, बट आपको जरूरत ही नहीं है ये बातें जानने की. फॉर यू द कंसर्न इज दिस वेयर आई रीच्ड. अब आप सोचिए ये 0.2 क्या था? RRR, required reserve ratio. So 1 upon required reserve ratio is the determinant of money multiplier. I repeat again, money multiplier is the constant, in our case 5, which shows the rate at which money supply changes when there is a change in high powered money. And what is high powered money? High powered money is the base money which determines how much will be the money supply in the economy. Because end of the day, money supply in the economy will always be a multiple of high powered money. आप जितना हाई पावर्ड मनी क्रिएट करेंगे उसी के मल्टीपल में हाई मनी सप्लाई क्रिएट होगा ना. यही बात दिखा रहा हूं. That whatever money you create, a multiple of that will be high powered money. Are we clear on this? I had few small questions to ask you. You answered that and we will be done on this story. So if required reserve ratio becomes more, what will happen to money multiplier? It will become less. Well, mathematically life is easy. It is in the denominator. Economics of it is also easy. If required reserve ratio is more, it will mean that for every deposit that the bank gets, they will have to give more reserve to RBI, and therefore their ability to create more loans will be lesser, and that will reduce the value of money multiplier. Are you clear on that? Okay. Second question I'm asking you. In an economy, if people have more banking habit, that is they go to bank more, they deposit more and so on, what will happen then to money multiplier? Increase? Because more banking habit will mean more deposits put into banks, ability of bank to give loans rises, higher multiplier value can be received. Okay. I have another one. Suppose in an economy, people have currency deposit ratio. All right, how much currency do I hold in my hand compared to how much deposit do I keep in the bank? If the currency deposit ratio is high, then what will happen to money multiplier? Low? Less? Because, again, for those of you who might not have caught it, currency deposit ratio means out of my total wealth, how much I am holding as currency and how much I am holding as deposit. If the currency deposit ratio is high, it means I am holding more money in my hand as currency rather than keeping it in the bank as deposits. And that will mean banks' ability to give loans will be lesser because they are receiving lesser deposits, and that will mean money multiplier will be lesser. You'll be with me on that? Okay. Just one more. आपने ये जितना आंसर किया इससे आपके प्रीलिम्स में 4 नंबर आ गए. ये क्वेश्चन प्रीलिम्स एग्जाम में पूछे जा चुके हैं. What I was asking you, they asked it in the prelims exam. Now one more. This they have not asked, but I am asking you. What does your intuition say? If a bank has more fixed deposit compared to demand deposit, will it be higher money multiplier or not? Should be. You know why? If I have more fixed deposit, I have more security that this money will be withdrawn later and I can lend it out for a longer period. My deposits of fixed deposit type can create more money multiplier value. And just one more, this is again something that had been asked in the past year papers. If a person withdraws from their deposit and hold the money in their hand as currency, then what will be the impact on money supply immediately? It will remain constant. आपका मनी सप्लाई क्या है? करेंसी प्लस डिपॉजिट्स. आपने डिपॉजिट विड्रॉ किया और किसके टर्म में कन्वर्ट किया? करेंसी. तो जब आप मनी सप्लाई मेजर करेंगे वैल्यू तो वही रहेगी ना इमीडिएटली. जब आप ये ज्यादा दिनों तक करते रहेंगे तो करेंसी डिपॉजिट रेशियो बढ़ जाएगा. You understand that? But the word immediately is important here. Because of the word immediately, if suppose I had 100 rupees in deposit, zero cash, and now I convert it into 100 cash, zero deposit. Immediately money supply remains same. It was 0 plus 100, now it is 100 plus 0. You understand that? So that is why if I withdraw my currency and withdraw my deposits and convert it into currency, the immediate impact on money supply will be zero, nothing. Do I believe you are clear on this? I'm making you write these things. Please take them down. You write point 1. There is inverse relation between required reserve ratio and money multiplier. Second, there is direct relation between banking habits and money multiplier. Direct relation between banking habits and money multiplier. Third, there is inverse relation between currency deposit ratio and money multiplier. And then you write fourth, if a bank has more time deposit is fixed deposit, more time deposit than demand deposit, then money multiplier will be high. And one more you write, if an individual withdraws deposits and keeps it in the hand as currency, if an individual withdraws deposits and keeps it in the hand as currency, then there is no immediate impact on money supply. No immediate impact, and underline the word immediate. No immediate impact on money supply. Okay, Now you write the second function of central bank. You write banker to the government. Banker to the government. And you put a dash and write central bank acts as banker to the government. Central bank acts as banker to the government by accepting its deposits, comma, issuing loans, comma, managing its debt, DEBT, debt. सरकार जो लोन मार्केट से लेते हैं उनको मैनेज करते हैं वो. So managing its debt, comma, advising the government regarding paying back old loans or accepting new loans, full stop. Right? Okay, you write one more thing. You write and, full stop मत लगाना, आप आगे लिखना, and also advising the government on monetary policy. Also advising the government on monetary policy. In the same thing you write, after 1997, RBI is not allowed to purchase government bonds in a bracket you write both treasury bills and dated securities. Both treasury bills and dated securities. ये बस अलग अलग नाम है, आपको पढ़ाए जाएंगे फाइनेंशियल मार्केट के साथ, तो मैं नहीं बोल रहा इस पे ज़्यादा. They're just separate names. They will be taught to you. Treasury bills are bonds issued by central government mind you, bonds issued by central government for a period of less than 1 year. They are issued for 91 days, 182 days, 364 days. They are called treasury bills. So they are short-term borrowings of central government. And dated securities are bonds issued by central government for more than 1 year. They can be issued for 2 years, 3 years, and so on. Now, till 1997, government was allowed that they could directly borrow from RBI by issuing bonds to RBI. But it was seen that this was making the government indisciplined. We used to have a system called ad hoc treasury bills. Ad hoc means temporary. So what the government will do is they will issue these 14 days, 14 days ad hoc treasury bill. Now think, what will the government, what is the problem in that? So say I am government, you are RBI. I issue you 100 rupees worth of 14 days ad hoc treasury bill. Okay, you give me 100 rupees. Ideally, what should I do? After 100 days, I should pay back the money for the bill maturing. I don't do that. After 14 days, I will issue a new ad hoc treasury bill 200 rupees. Use 100 rupees out of that to pay back your money and keep the extra 100 with myself. Again, after 14 days, I will again issue new treasury bills. So this became a method by which, on paper, government was showing I am borrowing, but in practice, they were making RBI print money and meet their expenditure. You understand that? And this was creating fiscal indiscipline. So in 1997, it was decided that let's make the government disciplined. So a rule was made that RBI will not be allowed to purchase government bonds from the primary market. Now, what does a primary market mean? When you issue the first time. All right, जैसे मान लीजिए मैं सरकार हूं, I am government, I issue my bond and you buy it, then you have bought it from the primary market. Now, if you sell it to somebody else, then it becomes the secondary market. Do I believe I'm reaching you on this? These markets are the same place. ये नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज, बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज, वहीं ये डीलिंग्स होती हैं. लेकिन पहली बार जिसने खरीदा बॉन्ड इशू होने पे या शेयर इशू होने पे, उसे कहते हैं प्राइमरी मार्केट. उसके बाद अगर उन्होंने किसी को बेचा ये, तो वो बना secondary market. So for the first time, if the share is issued or a bond is issued and somebody purchases it, it's called primary market. The rule made is, if government issues a bond for the first time, the purchaser cannot be RBI, so that RBI doesn't print money and give it to the government. Do I reach you on this? Okay. The government agreed. The government said, okay, we agree, but there will be a challenge. अब सरकार कहाँ से पैसा मांगे फिर? Where does the government get money from? So it was told, take it from the market. You issue your bonds in the market and let banks, insurance companies, public purchase your bond and give you loan. Government said, all right, we agree, but it is possible that sometimes the liquidity can be in a very tight situation. The money supply, etc., can be weak. And I need money for governance purposes, and I'm not getting it because the market is not lending it out to that extent to me. So for those purposes, what do I do? So then a thing was evolved. It is called ways and means advances. So ways and means advances are the amount of loans that RBI can give to the government through the primary market, and these amounts will already be fixed. How much you can borrow in quarter one, how much you can borrow in quarter two, in quarter three, in quarter four. Every year it is fixed. And till the government has not given the past quarter's borrowing, they will not be allowed to borrow in the new quarter, so that they don't make the RBI create new money to pay the old loans. So the purpose of ways and means advances is to discipline the government that, okay, we understand you might need money in the emergency. You decide with RBI what can be that money, and RBI will give you that money, but not beyond that limit. Beyond that money, you will have to borrow from the market. And RBI will give government this money at the repo rate. I will explain repo rate to you in the coming class, but at the repo rate, that is how it is fixed. I'm making you write that. You please take it further. जहां आप रुके थे, वहीं से आगे बढ़िएगा. So you had written RBI is not allowed to purchase government bond in the primary market. You wrote that? In the same thing, please continue. I'm repeating myself. RBI is not allowed to purchase government bond in the primary market except what is permitted, under ways and means advances. Except what is permitted under ways and means advances. In a bracket you write WMA. Close the bracket. Full stop. WMA is an arrangement. WMA is an arrangement in which government and RBI determine the maximum amount that government can borrow from RBI comma, in each quarter, comma again, by issuing bonds to it. RBI charges repo rate on WMA advances. RBI charges WMA loans, I'm sorry. RBI charges repo rate on WMA loans. Both central government and state governments, both central government and state governments have their limits fixed. Have their limits fixed under WMA, full stop. The government cannot borrow from WMA. The government cannot borrow from WMA in any quarter beyond what is permitted, and if it has not paid back loans from previous quarter, full stop. The objective is to keep fiscal discipline. The objective is to keep fiscal discipline. Fiscal, FISCAL. फिस्कल मतलब सरकार का बजट, वो डिसिप्लिन में रहे, जरूरत से ज्यादा ना पैसे मांगे सरकार. That is the idea. Remember, 1997 we have this WMA. 1999 we had the FRBM Act, which was passed in 2003. All right. Why? Because 1991 we had a crisis, mainly because of fiscal indiscipline of the government. So people were conscious that let's have a rule that government doesn't remain fiscally indisciplined. All right, that is the aspect per se. Okay, then you write third feature, a function of RBI, banker to the banks. Banker to the banks. And you write, as banker to the banks, RBI accepts their deposits, comma, gives them loan, comma, reconciles their account, reconciles, RECONCILES, reconciles their account. I'll tell you what I mean. Suppose 100 rupees is withdrawn from Canara Bank and 100 rupees is deposited in SBI, that 100 rupees, then RBI will make the final reconciliation. All right, there's an institution called Deposit and Clearing House of India, DCHI. ये RBI के अंदर फंक्शन करता है. तो हर दिन जब दिन खत्म होता है तो ये डिसीजन देखा जाता है कि किस बैंक से कितने पैसे निकले और किस बैंक में डिपॉजिट हुए, और सारे बैंक आपस में रात तक ये लोन सेटल, ये अमाउंट सेटल करते थे. You understand that we have a Deposit and Clearing House of India. At the end of each day, all the banks will meet. They will check how much check has been issued, what deposit, what money, what loan, and everything will be reconciled. Okay, which bank has to give how much money to which bank has to accept how much money from which bank, and all this is done under RBI's supervision. All right. But इसमें सोचो एक और क्या बात हो सकती है, सुनना ध्यान से अब इस बात को. It's possible on a given day there can be more withdrawals from a bank than deposit. Then this bank becomes a deficit bank. And there can be another bank which has more deposits than withdrawals. This bank is a surplus bank. So it's now RBI has created a system of money market. It's called call money market, where banks can interact and give loans to each other. से फॉर वन डे, कि मान लीजिए आज का दिन खत्म हुआ, आई एम रनिंग शॉर्ट ऑफ 100 रुपीज, यू हैव अ सरप्लस 100 रुपीज, यू गिव मी लोन फॉर वन डे, नेक्स्ट डे आई गेट माई मनी, आई गिव इट बैक टू यू. All right. But imagine, again, if there arises a situation in which I have a deficit and nobody is lending to me, because everybody is worried that tomorrow I might have a deficit. This happens when the market has short liquidity. जब कमी होती है पैसे की, सब डरे होते हैं, तो कोई लोन देने को तैयार नहीं हो रहे होते. अब सोचो, अगर किसी ने मुझे लोन नहीं दिया, if nobody gives loan to me, I go technically bankrupt, because I will be unable to respect a check or some withdrawal from my bank. And that is when RBI will give me loan as the lender of last resort. ये यूपीएससी ने पूछा था 2021 में कि लेंडर ऑफ लास्ट रिजॉर्ट फंक्शन का मतलब क्या होता है, मतलब क्या किसको दिया जाता है. दिस इज गिवन टू कमर्शियल बैंक्स. सो यू राइट दैट नाउ, यू राइट and it acts as lender of last resort for commercial banks. I hope you understood lender of last resort. That when nobody is giving loan to them and they might be declared a bankrupt bank for no reason, it's just one day that they are running into a problem, RBI saves them by acting as lender of last resort. UPSC had said that RBI acts as lender of last resort for, and then they had given options: central government, state government, banks, other institutions, and all of the above. Most of the people marked all of the above. But this question was straight away picked up from NCRT, that RBI acts as lender of last resort for the commercial banks. You change the paragraph and write, RBI also regulates the banks. RBI also regulates the banks through prompt corrective action. Through prompt corrective action. Prompt, P-R-O-M-P-T. Prompt corrective action. In a bracket you write, introduced in 2002. Introduced in 2002. Prompt corrective action, in a bracket, introduced in 2002. Close the bracket. Under which, if a bank has high non-performing asset, I will teach you these things. अभी के लिए बस लिख लो. मैं आपको पढ़ाऊंगा ये सारे concept. Hopefully by tomorrow second half or by day after maximum first half, we will be getting into this. But अभी के लिए लिख लो. High non-performing asset, in a bracket you write, above 7% of loan extended. Close the bracket. वैसे नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट क्या होते हैं? वो लोन जो लौट के नहीं आए. All right, the unpaid loan. All right, that is non-performing asset. But we'll go into that. Comma. Low capital adequacy ratio. Low capital adequacy ratio. In a bracket you write, less than 9%. And very high borrowings. Again in a bracket you write, more than twice of equity share capital, more than twice of equity share capital of the bank. बैंक ने जितने पैसे शेयर से लिए हैं, अगर उससे डबल बोरोइंग कर ली तो उसे डेंजरस माना जाता है. ऑल राइट, यू राइट, देन RBI restricts the bank. This is the prompt corrective action that they take. RBI restricts the bank from accepting deposits, giving loans, accepting deposits, giving loans, and even increasing the salary, even increasing the salary of their CEO, of their CEO. Now, why this is done? To make sure banks don't take over risk and people's money doesn't come under a problem. All right. But these are functions of RBI as bankers bank. And then you write one more, fourth function. RBI as custodian of foreign exchange reserve. RBI as custodian of foreign exchange reserve. And you put a dash and write RBI is responsible for holding, RBI is responsible for holding foreign exchange reserves and only the institutions licensed by RBI, only the institutions licensed by RBI can participate in foreign exchange market. Foreign exchange market. I hope you are getting this. That RBI will keep all the foreign exchange reserves. People are not allowed to keep dollar or yen or euro at home beyond a limit. There's up to a limit permitted, but you can't keep beyond that. You have to keep it with RBI. And if there is any transaction happening in foreign exchange reserve rates, then it has to be through only those institutions which have a license from RBI. Any money transfer or any kind of foreign exchange buying and selling, that is the idea. Now you write a heading because this is, and उसके साथ most important लिख लेना. And thank you for being a great class today. मैंने initially, honestly मेरा plan था RBI as a printer of money वहीं तक खत्म कर पाऊंगा. पर आप अच्छे से पढ़ते जा रहे थे तो मैं भी पढ़ाता जा रहा था. मुझे लगा अच्छा लग रहा है. आज का दिन ठीक चल रहा है तो खींच ही लेते हैं. So today I'll stay on this. You write a heading just that. RBI as controller of credit. ये मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शन है आरबीआई का, बट इसे मैं एंड में करता हूं क्योंकि ये इलेबोरेट है. इट्स अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स वी नीड टू नो. सो आरबीआई एज कंट्रोलर ऑफ क्रेडिट एंड इन अ ब्रैकेट यू राइट मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शन ऑफ आरबीआई. आरबीआई एज कंट्रोलर ऑफ क्रेडिट, क्योंकि जैसे वो क्रेडिट कंट्रोल करते हैं देन ओनली दे कंट्रोल मनी सप्लाई. ऑलराइट, दैट इज देयर मेथोडोलॉजी. I'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock then. We'll begin from here. Thank you. And thank you people online. I see you tomorrow 8 o'clock.